following is a feature presentation of the Replay Sports Channel, the home for great games. This telecast is copyrighted by the WFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the WFL's consent is prohibited.
This week we saw an NFL MVP throw 3 brutal interceptions, a 1-9 team absolutely terrify a Super Bowl contender, and
a kicker somehow became the most dangerous man on the entire field.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're taking a massive stack of Week 12 game recaps, stats, injury reports, and the latest conference playoff standings, and just putting them all under the microscope for you.
It's a lot to get through, but it's really fascinating stuff.
It is, and our mission for you today is to uncover the actual anatomy of a second half collapse versus the mechanics of total game control.
Right, because as we inch closer to the playoffs, you really have to ask what separates the true contenders from the pretenders.
Exactly. And we're going to look past just the final scores to see the why behind how these games were won or lost. Because Week 12 was basically defined by these whiplash-inducing momentum swings.
Oh, totally. We saw matchups that looked entirely balanced for 30 minutes just shatter into a million pieces in a single quarter.
Yep.
The box score tells you who won, sure, but it does a terrible job of explaining the underlying structural failures that caused a team to cave in.
Right, it doesn't show the collapse. So to really understand how quickly a game slips away, let's look at 2 games that looked like total nail-biters at halftime, but turned into absolute blowouts.
The classic third-quarter runaways.
Yes. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Maulers. They put a 34-10 beating on the Detroit Wheels, and Detroit came in at 1-9, but they actually led early on and tied it 10-10 in the second quarter.
Which is wild for a one-win team. Purdy actually looked great early on.
He did, but then Patrick Mahomes just steps on the gas in the third quarter. He finishes with 301 yards, 2 pass TDs, and 44 rushing yards.
He's took over.
He really did. The absolute backbreaker was this 41-yard touchdown strike to John Jennings. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy on the other side ends up taking 5 sacks.
You know, it's really tempting to look at that stat line and just credit the star power of Mahomes. But if you look at the film from that third quarter, it reveals this masterclass in exploiting a physically depleted defense.
How so? What were they doing?
Well, Detroit came out playing this heavy man-to-man coverage. They were super aggressive, challenging Pittsburgh's receivers right at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And that works when your legs are fresh, you know. But man coverage requires an immense amount of stamina. By the third quarter, Pittsburgh's offensive coordinator started using heavy pre-snap motion and bunch formations.
Oh, just forcing them to run around before the play even starts.
Exactly. They forced Detroit's defensive back to communicate and chase all the way across the field. And when the legs get heavy, that communication breaks down.
Wow, so that Jennings touchdown wasn't just a great throw.
No, it was the result of a tired safety biting on an underneath crossing route because he literally just lacked the recovery speed to get back over the top.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm looking at the Baltimore Stallions destroying the New York Generals 44-26, and the mechanics seem identical here.
It's remarkably similar.
I mean, talk about an explosive start for New York. Bryce Young hits Malik Neighbors for a 75-yard touchdown just 13 seconds into the game.
Just an insane way to open a game.
Right, but then Matthew Stafford unleashes this relentless barrage in the third quarter. He finishes with 424 yards and 4 touchdowns. Devonta Smith had 165 yards and 3 touchdowns, including this 84-yard bomb.
It's like watching a heavyweight boxer, you know?
Exactly. It's like they spend the first few rounds just jabbing, studying their opponent, and they just wait for the exact moment the defense drops its guard to deliver that knockout punch.
What's fascinating here is how halftime adjustments really dictate these runaways. It's not just about the star power, it's about depth and execution. New York and Detroit played with so much desperation for one half.
But they couldn't sustain it.
Right. Baltimore had perfect red zone execution. They went 3 for 3 scoring touchdowns inside the 20, and Pittsburgh suffocated any chance of a comeback by pivoting to their run game.
Yeah, Devon Achane ripped off 75 yards.
Exactly. I want you to think about your own high-pressure situations. How easy is it to perform perfectly for the first half of a project or like the first 20 minutes of a meeting?
Pretty easy when you have adrenaline.
Right. But when the pressure sustains and you hit that third quarter wall, if your underlying foundation isn't solid, you fall apart.
That makes total sense. But what happens when the star quarterbacks are the ones making the fatal errors? Let's flip the script completely here.
Oh, this is where it gets chaotic.
Yeah, we just saw QBs control the game perfectly. Now let's look at two massive upsets where heavily favored quarterbacks completely lost control and just gave the game away.
You're talking about San Antonio and Atlanta.
Yes. San Antonio stunned Atlanta 37-17. Atlanta was a 9-point favorite at home, but Joe Burrow throws 3 interceptions, resulting in this dismal 39.4 passer rating.
Meanwhile, Jared Goff was just surgical on the other side.
Yeah.
303 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 133.2 rating.
And then you have the 2-9 LA Wildcats absolutely destroying the 7-3 San Diego Fleet 34-12. Josh Allen had a complete nightmare game.
3 interceptions and 2 team fumbles, right?
Yeah, just brutal. The MVP of the game was actually LA's defender, Andrew Van Ginkel. He sealed it with a 30-yard pick six. And Russell Wilson was just super calm and collected for LA, 276 yards and 3 TDs.
So efficient.
So what does this all mean? Are elite guys like Burrow and Allen just having a fluke bad day? Or is this like a blueprint for how underdogs can rattle heavily favored teams by disguising coverages?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, turnovers aren't just a mathematical loss of possession. They are massive emotional momentum killers.
Oh, totally.
Notice how San Antonio and LA capitalized immediately on short fields. LA turned a first quarter Allen interception into a touchdown, literally 1 play later.
Wow.
It completely flips the psychology of the game. You show a quarterback a too high safety look, they think the middle is open, and then a safety spins down right at the snap.
Disguised coverage.
Exactly. It creates this tiny fraction of a second of hesitation. And that's all it takes for a superstar to force a throw, and suddenly they're playing desperate football.
Right. They get down early and just start pressing. It's like psychological quicksand. But these upsets were just chaotic turnover fests. Our next 2 games show a completely different way to win.
A much more suffocating way.
Yes, methodical environmental control, taking the air out of the ball. Let's look at the New Jersey Hitmen grinding out a 1911 win over the Philadelphia Stars.
That game was exhausting to watch.
It really was. New Jersey held the ball for over 34 minutes. They sent 30 blitzers to harass Drake May and Derek Carr, and their MVP was literally their kicker, Jake Little.
He had field goals from 38, 31, 58, and 55 yards out. Just a weapon.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It's like watching a boa constrictor. New Jersey didn't need flashy 80-yard bombs. They just needed Jake Little's leg and a defense that refused to let Philly breathe for a full 60 minutes.
This raises an important question about how we build rosters, honestly. Fans love explosive wide receivers.
Sure, everyone loves a highlight reel.
But New Jersey showed that an elite kicker is the ultimate safety net. It completely changes how you call plays on third down when you know you only need to get to the 40-yard line for points.
And we saw that same kind of suffocating control, but with the run game in Chicago. The Fire blew out the Cleveland Gladiators 41-9.
The weather in that game was a huge factor.
Oh my gosh, prime time, 19 degrees outside, 20-mile-per-hour winds. Literally perfect conditions for a run game. Jahmyr Gibbs rushed for 148 yards.
He was unstoppable.
And Baker Mayfield, his mind meld with Amon-Ra St. Brown was wild. 8 catches, 110 yards, 3 touchdowns. Meanwhile, poor Sam Darnold managed only 94 passing yards for Cleveland.
Well, Cleveland's offense wasn't weatherproof. Chicago showed that a weatherproof running game, Gibbs was averaging 7.4 yards a carry, is what saves you when offensive rhythms fail in the freezing cold.
Right. It's like New Jersey and Chicago are driving ATVs and everyone else is trying to race sports cars in the mud.
That's a great way to put it. They bring their own weather to the game.
Squeezing the life out of a game is super effective, but sometimes, two teams just trade haymakers until the bitter end. Let's talk about the thrillers.
The MVP showcases.
Exactly, where individual superstars just had to put the entire team on their backs. The Las Vegas Outlaws edged the Arizona Rattlers 30-28.
That game was wild from the start.
Yeah, an early Derek Stingley Jr. 52-yard pick six for Arizona, but Jalen Hurts just did it all for Vegas. 219 pass yards, 54 rush yards.
And we have to mention that Vegas defense again. Andrew Van Ginkel and that front seven got 8 sacks to stall Arizona's late comeback.
8 sacks is insane. And then you have Lamar Jackson putting on an absolute masterclass in Memphis's 40-24 win over Tampa Bay.
He was everywhere.
375 yards, 3 pass TDs, and a rushing TD. Meanwhile, Will Levis threw 3 fatal interceptions for Tampa.
Another example of turnovers killing a team.
Exactly. But let me ask you this, because when we look at Lamar and Jalen Hurts carrying the entire offensive load, is that actually sustainable for a playoff run?
It's a huge risk.
Especially with these injury reports stacking up in our sources. Awuzie is out 16 weeks. Crosby is out 6 weeks. Whitehead out 6 weeks.
Yeah, if we synthesize the data here, relying on a superhero QB is thrilling, but it's incredibly dangerous. The human body can only take so many hits.
Right.
The teams that are truly built for the long haul are the ones balancing that star power with massive defensive pressure, like Las Vegas getting those 8 sacks. It insulates the quarterback so they don't have to be perfect on every single drive.
Which brings us to the big takeaways from this deep dive.
Yeah.
Week 12 basically proved that giving away possessions like Allen, Burrow, and Levis did is just a death sentence in this league. While methodical control and really executing in that third quarter, those are the hallmarks of a true playoff team.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, looking at the standings from our sources. St. Louis and Las Vegas both lead their conferences at 8-2.
Right.
But look at the Chicago Fire. They are 8-3. They just completely decimated Cleveland in freezing weather. They look like the most dangerous weatherproof team in the league.
You really do.
Yet, they are still stuck 0.5 games behind the 8-2 Battlehawks in their own division.
Oh, wow.
So what happens when a team peaks perfectly, builds this incredible weatherproof offense, but is trapped in a division with an absolute juggernaut? Will the rigid playoff structure end up punishing the hottest team in football?
That is such a good question. It really makes you wonder if the format is flawed. Well, it just proves you have to look past the scores. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Week 12 sources. Keep questioning the stats, and we'll catch you next time.